Welcome back, everybody, to another deep dive. Today, we're going to be looking at Coca-Cola and all the marketing magic that has made this brand so iconic.
Yeah, they really are everywhere you look.
Yeah, so, beyond the jingles and the polar bears, what is it that makes their marketing tick?
Well, when you consider they sell 1.8 billion bottles a day, it really makes you wonder.
1.8 billion.
Yeah, every day. That's a lot of soda.
With that kind of reach, you'd think advertising wouldn't even be necessary.
You would, but that's where the story gets really interesting. Because even at that scale, consistent marketing is crucial. It's all about staying relevant, keeping people engaged, and of course, reaching those new audiences.
I mean, it's true what they say, right? Out of sight, out of mind. Even Coca-Cola can't just rest on its laurels.
Exactly. A perfect example of this is their hashtag Enjoy the Feeling campaign in South Africa. They actually managed to boost their reach by 42%, even with a smaller budget.
Oh, wow. That's pretty impressive. How did they manage that?
Well, they tapped into something really powerful: emotions. They used storytelling across multiple platforms, video image galleries, even those immersive mobile ads, the ones that take up your whole screen.
Oh, yeah.
It wasn't just about the product, it was about creating an experience.
Evoking a feeling.
Exactly. And they've used that same approach in other markets with some pretty amazing results. For example, when they launched Coca-Cola Life in Brazil, they used a really smart two-phase strategy.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Ymir.
First, they focused on just building awareness, getting people curious. Then they hit their target audience, young adults, with ads specifically designed to drive sales.
So different ads for different stages of the campaign.
Exactly. And the results speak for themselves. They reached 7 times more people than they would have with just traditional TV ads.
Wow, 7 times. That's incredible. It really makes you wonder if traditional media even has a place anymore.
Well, I think traditional media still has its role. But there's no denying that digital platforms offer a level of targeting and impact that's hard to beat, especially when you factor in personalization.
Right. And speaking of personalization, we have to talk about Share a Coke. I mean, that campaign was everywhere. Who hasn't looked for their name or a friend's name on a Coke bottle?
It was brilliant, really. Such a simple concept, but so effective. They understood that people love that personal touch. It makes you feel like you're part of something special.
And it wasn't just about finding your own name. It was about sharing it with others, posting it on social media. They turned their customers into marketers.
Exactly. User-generated content at its finest. It kept the campaign fresh and engaging. And they didn't stop there. They got even more strategic with different variations for different groups.
Like how?
Well, for teens, they used labels like BFF, tapping into that whole friendship thing. And for sports fans, they had bottles with team logos. It was all about creating a sense of community and belonging.
It's amazing how they managed to personalize something on such a massive scale. It really shows how much thought they put into understanding their audience.
Absolutely. They're not just throwing spaghetti at the wall and seeing what sticks. They're constantly analyzing data, refining their approach, and finding new ways to connect.
Makes sense. All this talk about Coke is making me thirsty.
Yeah.
But Coca-Cola isn't just about sugary drinks anymore, is it? They've been branching out quite a bit.
You're right. Soda consumption has been declining for years, so they've had to adapt. They've expanded into other beverage categories, juices, sports drinks, even milk and bottled water.
It's a smart move from a business perspective. But I'm curious, what does this tell us about their marketing strategy?
I think it shows they're willing to adapt and evolve. They're not afraid to try new things and stay ahead of the trends. They understand that to stay relevant, they need to meet the changing needs of their customers.
It's a good lesson for any business, really. You can't just sit back and expect things to stay the same. You have to be willing to embrace change and keep innovating.
Couldn't agree more. And it also shows a commitment to meeting a wider range of consumer needs and preferences. It's not just about selling more soda, it's about providing options that fit different lifestyles.
So they're not just adapting to survive, they're adapting to thrive.
Exactly. But even for a giant like Coca-Cola, it's not always easy. They've faced their fair share of challenges, especially when it comes to the environment.
Right. You can't talk about Coca-Cola without addressing those concerns about water usage and plastic waste. It's been a major point of contention.
It's a complex issue, and they've been under a lot of pressure to improve their sustainability practices. They've taken some steps in the right direction, investing in water conservation and exploring more sustainable packaging options.
It's a tough balancing act, though, right?
Yeah.
Maintaining growth while also being environmentally responsible. It's a challenge that a lot of companies are facing.
It's a challenge that's not going away anytime soon, and it'll be interesting to see how they continue to navigate this complex landscape.
Well, it's clear that Coca-Cola's marketing is a multifaceted beast. They've mastered the art of emotional connection, personalization, and adapting to a changing world. But we've only just scratched the surface. There's so much more to uncover.
There is. When we come back, we'll dive even deeper into some of their most iconic campaigns and the secrets behind their enduring success. Stay tuned. Welcome back to our deep dive. We were just talking about Share a Coke before the break.
Such a clever campaign.
It really was. It felt so personal, so unique. What do you think were the key ingredients to its success?
Well, for me, it was that feeling of being singled out in a good way. Like they made a bottle just for me.
Exactly. They tapped into that human desire for recognition, that feeling of being special, and then they took it a step further.
Right. It wasn't enough to just find your own name. You had to find your friend's name, your mom's name, your dog's name.
Yeah.
It became a game.
It did. And it was a game that everyone could play. It was brilliant marketing, really. They turned their customers into brand ambassadors.
And they didn't just stop at names, did they? They expanded it with all sorts of themes and variations.
Oh, yeah. They understood that different people connect with different things. So they created versions for everyone. Teens, sports fans, you name it.
Like those BFF bottles for teenagers.
Exactly. Or the ones with team logos for sports fans. They were really smart about segmenting their audience and tailoring the message.
It's impressive how they managed to create something that felt both personal and universal at the same time.
It's a delicate balance, but they pulled it off. And they proved that even in today's world of mass marketing, you can still create genuine connections with individual consumers.
Well, let's move on from soda for a bit and talk about Coca-Cola's expansion into other beverage categories.
It's a fascinating evolution, isn't it?
It is. I mean, they've gone from just soda to offering everything from juice and water to plant-based milk alternatives.
They had to adapt. Soda consumption has been declining for years, and they recognized that they couldn't just rely on their core products.
Makes sense. But how have they managed to maintain their brand identity while venturing into all these different categories?
It's a testament to their strong brand equity and their ability to leverage their core values.
Yeah.
Things like happiness, connection, refreshment. Those themes run through all their products.
So even though they're offering different types of drinks, the underlying message is still the same.
Exactly. And they've been very strategic about how they've rolled out these new products, making sure that they align with their overall brand image.
It's like they've taken their core essence and expanded it to encompass a wider range of products and lifestyles.
That's a great way to put it. They're not just chasing trends, they're creating them. They're shaping the future of the beverage industry.
It's impressive. But let's not forget that they've also faced some challenges along the way, especially when it comes to their environmental impact.
Oh, absolutely. The controversies surrounding water usage and plastic waste have been a major headache for them.
It's a tough issue, and they've been under a lot of pressure to improve their sustainability practices.
They have. And to be fair, they have made some progress investing in water conservation programs and exploring more sustainable packaging options.
But there's still a long way to go, right?
There is. It's a complex problem with no easy solutions, but it's something that they and every other major corporation need to address.
Consumers are becoming more and more aware of these issues, and they're demanding that companies take responsibility.
That's right. It's not just about profits anymore. It's about doing business in a way that's sustainable and ethical.
Well, this has been a fascinating look at the evolution of Coca-Cola's business. But let's get back to their marketing for a moment. What are some of the specific tactics and strategies they've used to achieve such incredible success?
Well, one of their key strengths has always been their visual branding. Just think about their logo, the red and white color scheme, the contoured bottle shape.
It's instantly recognizable.
It is. They've created a visual language that transcends language barriers and cultural differences.
And they've been consistent with it over the years.
Consistency is key in branding. It builds trust and recognition. And they've also been smart about evolving their visual identity while staying true to their core essence.
Like how they incorporated personalized names into the Share a Coke campaign.
Exactly. They kept their iconic script and color palette, but added that element of personalization. It was a brilliant way to freshen up their image while staying true to their roots.
They've also been masters at evoking emotions through their marketing.
Oh, absolutely. Their holiday commercials are a classic example. They tap into those warm, fuzzy feelings associated with family and togetherness.
It's not just about selling a product. It's about selling a feeling.
Exactly. And they've been incredibly effective at storytelling.
Ah.
They've used everything from real people to animated polar bears to connect with their audience on a human level.
They've also embraced the power of digital marketing, haven't they?
Oh, yeah. They were early adopters of social media influencer, marketing, content marketing. They're constantly experimenting with new platforms and technologies.
Like they have their finger on the pulse of the digital world.
They do. And they're not afraid to try new things. They understand that the digital landscape is constantly changing, and they need to adapt to stay ahead of the curve.
This deep dive has been incredibly insightful. We've learned so much about Coca-Cola's marketing strategies and their evolution as a brand.
We have, but there's one crucial aspect we haven't touched on yet: their approach to global marketing.
Right. How do they tailor their message for different cultures and regions around the world?
Well, that's a story for another time. Stay tuned, because when we come back, we'll delve into the fascinating world of Coca-Cola's global marketing strategy.
Welcome back to our deep dive. Now, before the break, we're talking about Coca-Cola's global marketing strategy.
It's a fascinating topic, isn't it? I mean, they're everywhere you look.
They really are. So how do they manage to tailor their message for all those different cultures and countries?
Well, they've adopted what's called a global strategy. Basically, it means think globally, act locally.
Okay, I think I understand. So they have a global vision, but they adapt it for each specific market.
Exactly. They understand that some things are universal, like the Coca-Cola logo and their core values of happiness and connection. But the way those things are expressed needs to resonate with the local culture.
Can you give us an example of how they do that?
Sure. Think about their advertising campaigns. In some regions, they might focus on family gatherings and celebrations, while in others, they might emphasize individual enjoyment or friendships. It all depends on the cultural values of that particular market.
So it's about finding that sweet spot between global consistency and local relevance.
Exactly. And they don't just stop at translating their ads. They also use local talent and resources whenever possible.
Oh, that's interesting. So they might work with local artists or filmmakers.
Exactly. It helps to ensure that their campaigns feel authentic and relatable to the local audience.
That makes a lot of sense. It's not just about talking to people, it's about connecting with them on a deeper level.
And it goes beyond advertising, too. They also tailor their product offerings and packaging to suit local tastes and preferences.
So you might find a different flavor of Coke in one country than you would in another.
Exactly. Or the packaging might be different, or the size of the bottles. It's all about adapting to the local market.
It's a pretty impressive approach. It shows a real commitment to understanding and respecting different cultures.
It does, and it's been a key factor in their global success. But of course, operating on a global scale also comes with its fair share of challenges.
Like what?
Well, for starters, there's the political and economic volatility of different regions. They have to be very careful to avoid any controversies or missteps that could damage their brand.
Right, because something that might be considered acceptable in one culture could be offensive in another.
Exactly. And then there's the challenge of managing their online presence in a globalized world.
Oh yeah, social media can be a minefield for global brands.
It can. One wrong move, and you could face a massive backlash.
So they have to be extra careful about what they say and do online.
They do. They need to be constantly monitoring social media and responding to any potential issues that arise.
Well, it's clear that global marketing is no walk in the park. But Coca-Cola seems to have navigated these challenges pretty well.
They have. They've shown us that it's possible to build a truly global brand while still respecting and celebrating the diversity of cultures around the world.
This has been a truly fascinating deep dive. We've learned so much about Coca-Cola's marketing strategies, from their iconic campaigns to their global expansion.
It's been a pleasure sharing these insights with you.
And hopefully our listeners have learned a thing or two about what it takes to build a successful brand.
Absolutely. No matter what industry you're in or what size your business is, there's always something to learn from the best.
So go out there and make some marketing magic. Thanks for listening, everyone.